The first thing that we have to talk about when we are talking about neglect is what is the definition of neglect? My definition of neglect for this video is a spouse who isn't meeting felt needs, such as a lack of intimacy, a lack of desired sex or touch, or feeling like you are no longer a priority in your spouse's life. I am not talking about neglect in the area of not being fed or provided for, feeling unsafe, or being abused. If you are being neglected in the sense that you are in danger, then you need to get help. Please contact the National Domestic Abuse Hotline as soon as possible, right now. This video will not help you get safe. You need a professional. You can find the links to that in the show notes below, or you can just go to Google and type in National Domestic Hotline. There is a way that you can anonymously contact them. But if you are one of the millions of women who feel like her husband doesn't love her anymore and that you don't know how to get his attention again so that you can have intimacy, passion, and a great marriage, then this video is for you. So I felt this way at the beginning of my marriage as well. My husband was stationed in South Korea. I moved over there with him. And when he would come home after the end of a long work day, and he was working 12 to 14 hours a day, he wanted a lot of time alone. He was working all of the time, but I felt neglected. I felt unwanted. Have any of you ever felt this way? If so, comment below. I know how it feels, but the question is, what do you do about it? There are 3 questions that I'm going to walk you through during this video for you to ask yourself. But before we get into those, remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. So the first question to ask yourself is, are you meeting your husband's needs? Oh, I know that that is not a popular question, and many of my strong lady friends are going to be saying, that is not how it's going to go down. But just hear me out. In my situation, I could defensively say that I was meeting my husband's needs, but I was meeting the needs that I would have wanted met for me. Was it his needs? No, he needed time alone. I was pushing and pressuring him into trying to spend more time with me, and it ended up just pushing him away. He needed that time alone, but I wasn't letting him get that need met. I was simply only thinking about what my needs were, and that is what I kept trying to tell my husband. But you're not meeting my needs, but you're not meeting my needs. Both of us were right, and both of us needed our needs met. So understand, I'm on your side. Don't get defensive, because I know it's in this moment that everyone says, but what about my needs? We are getting there, and your needs are important, and there is a place for them to be said and communicated. But you have to start with asking this question first. Are you meeting his? Because right now, you have to be the bigger person. So have you been thinking and processing it, and what do I need to do to help my husband's needs get met? Difficult question, but an important one. The second question I want to ask you is, have you communicated your needs? Talk to your husband. Have you told him what your needs are? Several years ago, when I was practicing my master's degree in marriage and family therapy, there was one couple that I was working with, and the wife was very frustrated with her husband. She had a lot of needs that she felt like her husband was not meeting. Needs including wanting to go out on more date nights with him, wanting him to send her flowers, wanting to ultimately, at the bottom of it, was she wanted to feel appreciated and wanted by her husband. So she wanted all of these things, but she didn't want to have to tell her husband what it is she wanted. She would say, he should know. He should know that he should surprise me with a date night. He should know to send me flowers a couple of times a month. He should know. And if I have to tell him, then it doesn't mean as much. Ladies, this is the most ridiculous statement I have ever heard. Tell him. He does not know what you want, and that's okay. It doesn't make him a bad husband at all. It just means that he can't read minds. And guess what? You can't read minds either. So tell your husband what it is you need. Just like you may not know how to meet his needs unless you ask. Sometimes you simply need to ask your husband, what is it that I can do to support you? What does support look like for me right now? What can I do to help you? What are your needs? Maybe they come home from a hard day and you say, what is it that you need right now? Do you need some time alone? Once you are overtly communicating these things to each other, you will realize both of you are getting your needs met way more often than you thought you could. And one final thing when it comes to sharing what your needs are with your husband, this is something I have started doing with my husband regularly. I will tell him, especially if I've had a hard work day and I'm just overwhelmed, anxious, which anxiety is already something that I have struggled with for many years. I will tell him, Rob, I just need you to sit here on the couch with me and hold me for 15 minutes. That is my need right now. I tell him, and guess what? He does it. Even if he can't do it that minute, he will realize this is a need she has, and therefore I'm going to work to do it as soon as I can. And you know what? It doesn't mean any less to me that I had to tell him that that's what I wanted. In fact, it means even more that he was willing to hear what I had to say and then meet the need that I told him that I had. And then the third question to ask yourself is, are you giving what you wish to receive? Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you treat your husband the exact way that you want to be treated. With love and kindness and respect, yes, all of those things. But sometimes we have differences in personalities, and that means that we don't always necessarily want to treat our spouse the way we would want to be treated. So Rob, for example, the introvert in our relationship, when he would come home from work, he was wanting peace and quiet. Me, the extrovert, I wanted a party. So I wasn't going to throw my husband a party in the most ridiculous way of telling this story possible. But I wasn't going to throw him a party when he came home from work every day. That wasn't the way he would have wanted to be treated. But neither of us did know how to treat each other unless or until we asked. So the question is, are you modeling the behavior that you wish to get back? Even if it isn't the exact thing that you're wishing to get back. So asking your husband, how can I help you today? Like I said earlier, how can I support you? What do you need from me? Your answers to that are likely going to be way different than his answers from that when you ask him. But it's the intention of asking and then showing your husband that you will listen and that you will do the things that he is needing. That is what builds trust in a relationship over time. Also, the fact that you ask your husband this question. And again, I understand many of you are thinking, why do I have to be the one to do it? Because you're the one watching this video. And right now you're the bigger person. So just do it so you can see change in your relationship. But when you start asking your husband, what does support look like? How can I help you today? What is it that you need? And then you actually show them that you love them and care for them by following through on those needs. It is amazing how many times they will start asking that question of you. You'll start hearing them ask you, well, what is it that you need? How can I be there for you? And that is what we are building here. Trust. That is how trust is established. Listen, I know this is a lot to think about, but at its core, it's simple. Be there for your spouse and show your spouse what it looks like to be there for them. Will your spouse not listen? Then you need our free mini course. If you are concerned, but if I ask them, they're just not going to listen and they're not going to ask me any questions back, then it's time that you probably look deeper into how to get your spouse to fall back in love with you and how to really work on fixing your marriage. So click the card on the screen to get the free 3-part video course right now on how to attract your husband back to you. If you want to know the 3 most important things in marriage according to research, then stick around for the next video where I'm going to be telling you about those things and how you can stop divorce from happening by making sure that you're focusing on these 3 things in your relationship. I'll see you in the next video.